Hello, and thanks for listening to Gifted Underachievers, the podcast for mid-level creatives with delusional ambitions. In this segment, James and I talk about when we reach that threshold every working creative person eventually reaches, which is going from crap or derivative stuff to finding your own voice. Hope you enjoy. Hey, James.
Yes, Pat.
Don't look so afraid. You know I'm going to ask you something.
You only bring the hard stuff. So,
Okay, well, maybe this one will be easy. So we've been talking about, our creative work. And the question arose, can you say do you know when you went from producing crap to actually having a voice or maybe a style? Can we say that? A style
yeah,
and a voice?
yeah, yeah,
Just because, you wouldn't, you might say a visual artist has a voice or style, or a dancer.
yeah.
So when did that happen for you? Do you know when it was?
Uh, I'm trying to think if there's like so I would kind of point to almost two dates that really are very, very, related. And I
Hmm.
can't say like for one, I have a very, very specific image, and for the other, it's a little bit more relative. But um, you know, when I decided or when this desire to become a writer first hit was basically like eighth grade, right? So
Yeah.
I'm going through a really tough time in eighth grade, right? I had both my parents as teachers, not good,
Really?
right? And I had both my parents as teachers in seventh grade as well. So it was like compounding this very challenging time. And I was just feeling very frustrated. And I wrote one piece that was a very jokey Guinness Book of World Records for my classmates.
Ah, cute.
And of course, the teacher said, read it out loud. And I got totally panicked that I was going to read all this stuff that was not very nice about my classmates and get in trouble. But they all laughed. They thought it was absolutely hysterical. So I
Awesome.
thought, okay, I can make people laugh. That's good. And
Yeah.
then soon after that, the assignment was to write something that you feel strongly about that was
Mm,
creative. And I wrote about how I really did not like this suburban, I didn't have these words for it, but there was this very predictable, very patterned, very unexciting, boring aspect of growing up in the suburbs. Right.
yeah.
And so I wrote about, looking out my window and seeing all these guys who are insurance representatives mowing their lawns all at the same time in this that you could see kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it was a way to kind of get out how I felt
Yeah.
about. And the teacher liked it and read it. And I thought, yeah. And so based on those experiences, I thought, this is it.
Yeah.
I can talk. I have a voice here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then immediately it was almost like it was like, now what writer do I want to be? And it's like, so I like this writer, I like that writer, and
Mm,
everything I was doing was completely derivative
mm,
of these writers that I admired and trying to be something that I absolutely was not. And I think it wasn't until about maybe 10 years ago
yeah.
that I was, feeling like I had run into this creative brick wall. And I wasn't really sure how to move forward and how to get past it. And I had lots of ideas, but it just didn't feel like I was speaking and like it was working, like I was just trying too hard or something. And it just suddenly hit me that I remembered that suburban piece and how cathartic it
Mm,
was and how connected it was. This thing that not only did I know, but I really felt,
yeah.
right? And I thought about writing that I really liked and connected with. And there's a certain aspect where it tries to, without being very obvious about it, it tries to state a truth and it tries to state a feeling and this angst and boredom and and all these other kinds of things that are really just about life.
Yeah.
And so I thought, I got to get back to that. I got to get back to what got me excited.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so that's what I've been doing is taking very I'm not sure the right way. I can come up with all this sort of high-minded stuff to describe it, but really it's just about taking moments where people are relating to each other over issues that really matter.
Yeah, cool.
But they're not like, it's not the Marvel universe.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And it's not this big, huge thing where this person has died and there's this huge trauma and da 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 da. It's really just people trying to figure out life
Yeah.
and trying to do it in a way that speaks to readers, that is interesting and gets them to say, yeah, I see myself in this.
Mm,
And I'm seeing new perspectives and new ways of thinking about things.
yeah.
And I'm seeing myself in a different light.
Mm,
And so I don't know if I'm actually achieving that,
mm.
but I feel so much more comfortable uh, trying to do that.
Yeah, you're in the right field, like if you will. I mean, if every writer plows a different field, you're in your field.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right. So how about you?
Wow. Okay. So your thoughts about the school years really sparked some memories in me. So all I was kind of rewarded for writing all through my schooling just because I like words and I had a knack, I guess, for it. But I remember the specific times were both in high school. In one, I was in drama class, we had to do a little presentation, and I did a presentation on how you can get venereal disease from doorknobs. And it was drama, so I was being not quite myself, but pretty much myself. And I was just like this
Mhm.
dry little scientist talking about venereal disease, and it brought the house down because I didn't have a reputation as being funny. Only my friends thought I was funny.
Wow.
So that was really fun. And then I got a really there was some I did a lot of English classes, and there was a couple of assignments that where the teacher was like, it's amazing. There was one about metaphor where I was so comfortable in metaphor, and I didn't really even really know that we were using metaphors. They explained it, but you know, so there was that kind of feeling like, oh, I enjoy this. I kind of like it, but so I didn't start writing creatively until I was about 25. So it was well after high school, well, 7 years after high school ish. And then it was a gradual process of similar to you. So I had novelists that I really loved, but I wasn't consciously or even unconsciously emulating them. I was experimenting, trying to find my craft, right? Trying to
Mhm.
identify how to do stuff, how to get moments on the page, you know? I was taking apart books and so it was a very gradual process, and what happened was I got extremely discouraged because I was maybe taking all of the craft advice too seriously, and it was hamstringing me. And so the first time I remember, you know, probably like it was 10 years ago, similar to you. It was actually 2016. I wrote this 3-day novel contest, and I didn't know what I was going to write about, and it became somehow set in 1972 right off the bat,
Mhm.
and it was about a guy who teaches sort of a session teacher at the university who always wears suits and ties, and that was in the power hour, power, the love era. And he's a cheese fanatic, and he falls in love with the butcher's wife who has a cheese counter at the butchery, and he's married and his wife's pregnant. And it's about the weirdness of people. Like there's necrophilia in it, there's lots of music in it. And it was the end of the 3 days, and I finished it, and I kind of went, holy shit, that was fun. I finished something. And then I read it like probably a month later, and it was good. And I was like, this is the best thing I've written, and it was because I was not trying to hit any marks. I was just writing this weird ass story that made me laugh and got to the root of some issues I was having in life. So it was sort of it's like, how do you conform when you feel people are weird? Like, what's conformity? All this stuff. But I just remember that was it. I was like, okay, I can write when I'm not trying to write a certain way. I can actually write much better when I stop trying.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're getting, so I think there's a certain similarity that, part of it for me was I had to get the front of my brain that
Yeah.
thought, oh, I love all of these writers and these books.
Yeah.
So how do I do that?
Yeah.
Right? And really thinking about that way and trying to sort of be this thing.
Yeah.
Uh, and you're exploring and trying to find the field to start digging in, and
Yeah.
not finding it. And it's not until you get the front of the mind out of the way,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And you just access, that deeper kind of, it's not flow state, but it's
It's
really just what animates you.
very much like a flow state for me. And it's really, for me, it's like just prying your chest open and dumping your heart on the page, but with craft knowledge, right? That's the difference. And I don't think I could have done it without all the studying and all the practice and all this sort of, I wasn't consciously emulating anybody, but there was writers like William Boyd, who's a writer from the UK. I just loved how he wrote. And so I was looking at how he got characters into scenes and how he extracted them from the scenes and stuff like that. But I think what this voice part taught me was that, and I had already had some success. Like I had an agent in 2013 or something. So 3 years before this even happened, I was already feeling like I knew how to write, but I didn't have the voice part. The voice part I had to work really, really hard at to create characters
Yeah.
that came across as fully formed beings because I wasn't allowing enough of myself into the books,
Mhm.
and I'm talking multiple manuscripts. I did not fuck around. I was like 7 novels, but I didn't send them out. So until I got the agent and then I started doing it and then I got frustrated as fuck because it still wasn't
Yeah.
working because I was still hamstrung by my own attempt to fulfill craft advice when actually what the part that was voicey is what's inside
Mhm.
you. That's what people are looking for.
Yeah.
That's the part that
Yeah.
nobody can do besides you.
Yeah, and that's so cool because, and I like the way that you phrased it is like opening your heart, but you have the craft
Yeah,
knowledge,
yeah,
right? And
yeah,
and that's so true is like there's definitely this other piece of just getting this writing craft
yeah.
under
You got to
control.
learn how to do it.
And yeah, and realizing that, one, lots of people are going to come to you with lots of rules,
Yeah,
right? And you really just have to pick the ones out that work for you because there's very few rules that are consistently true.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. And
you know,
they're out there. It's not like people are forcing them down your throat. I mean, don't nobody cares what other writers do, in my experience, once you're
Mhm.
beyond the grade school stuff, but it's yeah, sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, but no, I mean, for me, like the only rule that I actually really, really sort of abide by is no adverbs, especially with dialogue, right? And that's because, I feel like if you need an adverb to add more impact to something, then the something you're trying to make more impactful is failing. It's not working, right?
Yeah.
And so that then gets into this, you can't develop voice until you have that craft piece down to be able to understand all these kinds of things because I want to be very spare in my writing because I'm trying to get to this point where the reader is almost not aware that they're reading, right? And I think everybody's trying to get there and they have different ways to get there. And for me, my way is to make a very spare, lots of dialogue, almost like you're reading a play in a sense,
Uh-huh.
where the narrator is just giving stage direction and is as out of the way as possible.
Mm.
And so it took a really long time because some of the writers that I admire most are the complete opposite of that,
Yeah, totally.
right? And so I'm thinking, oh, I'm not writing enough or I'm writing too much. And I could never figure it out. And it wasn't, I think, really until I got serious about, okay, how do I better understand this craft piece?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that was part of it too.
Yeah. So interesting. Your only rule is adverbs. My only rule is get the reader to turn the page. I don't care how you do it.
Yeah.
That's my only rule.
Okay. That's the best rule, I think.
Or if you're a dancer, get the audience not to leave. I don't care how you do it.
And then a quick question because we're low, low, low on time. Were there other writers in your life? Were there people, and I don't mean mentors or
Hmm.
teachers, guides, but just
No,
other writers around. So
I had no writing friends.
for you and your family, you were out exploring new ground, new
Yeah,
turf.
I mean, I belonged to a writing group eventually. And so there were other writers that I found through night school courses. I met somebody who had a writing group, but
Yeah,
that
but
nobody in my life prior to
yeah,
that.
that's what I
No.
mean.
How about you?
That kind of, but no.
Mm,
You know what I mean? Like my parents were teachers,
yeah,
so obviously they're gonna, you're gonna run into people who write sort of vicariously. But no, there was no big creative presence. Like we didn't
mm,
go to parties with lots of creative type people or
no,
artists. Very
no,
mundane kind of
yeah,
thing,
yeah.
so.
Same here. Do you
Yeah.
think that makes a difference?
I'm always curious about how much is nature and how much is nurture, right?
Yeah, true. Yeah, interesting.
So I think for both of us, writing filled an emotional need. And it was something that we had a deep interest in because we love to read.
Yeah, I love books so much. Yeah.
So it just, it followed this natural path
Yeah.
that,
Yeah. Like water flowing downstream.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but I'm always curious, you hear, lots and lots of stories about people who come from families where, they'd go to the cocktail party and there'd be, and not necessarily famous people, but just lots of writers and artists and
Working creatives. Yeah.
yeah, you know.
Nothing like
So
that.
yeah, yeah. So definitely I think we were both going outside of the norm of our families too.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
All right.
All right, then. Thank you for answering the question. I think it's very, very interesting discussion.
Yeah, no, I like this and maybe we'll come back to this.
Yeah. Maybe we'll put an interesting question in the comments so people can relay their own experience of knowing whether they knew when their stuff turned from, producing not crap or just so, but to actually having a style or a voice. That'd be cool.
Yeah, where they got excited by what they were doing.
Yeah.
So,
Where
so if that's you, let us know. We want to
yeah.
hear.
Love to hear. Thanks so much for listening to Gifted Underachievers, the podcast for mid-level creatives with delusional ambitions. We would love to hear how we're doing, so please leave a comment, join our chat page, or send us an email to giftedunderachievers@substack.com. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. Hope you have a great creative week.